back to our program. We have with us the second miracle worker here. The women in our California here are really great, I'll tell you that. Claire MACK. Claire MACK was the first black woman mayor of San Mateo, and she was elected mayor 3 times. Congratulations.
Not actually elected, but I was elected to the council 3 times. We rotate in San Mateo, as many of the smaller cities do. We don't have a strong mayor like San Francisco or Berkeley or
but it's just
Oakland.
Wonderful to know that they loved you enough to have you back 3 times.
I'm a home girl. I was born and raised there, so.
Well, you know, I was really surprised to see Claire put on her resume high school dropout. She went back to school, got her high school diploma, an AA degree in broadcasting at the College of San Mateo, and ended up the Distinguished Alumni College of San Mateo as well, which she's very proud of, and with a BA degree from Community Development, Antioch College University. So that's really something. I mean, it's so hard to go back.
You know, I put that on my resume because so many people think, if at first I don't succeed, you do have to try again.
Yes, you do.
And there's no stigma in not doing it the first time. I dropped out actually to get married, so almost 60 years ago.
Well, now you and I go way back, let's say 20, 30 years ago, as colleagues at KGO TV.
Yes, yes. We
met. You had a show, I had a show. We became friends, and we've been friends. I haven't seen you in a long time, but we have been friends for years. I wanted to just give them a gist of, you really are a community person. I have about a dozen lines of what you have been involved in. The American Cancer Society, the Board of San Mateo County Arts Council, Community College Master Plan, Mills Peninsula College, Board of Trustees, American Red Cross.
Mills Peninsula Hospital.
Oh, okay.
Hospital
well,
Board of Trustees.
But you're so diverse. You know, you've got the medical, the cultural, at any rate. And then you did City of San Mateo Park and Recreation Commission. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And then you have the nerve to come out with Claire's Crunch Cake. Tell me about that. I'm fascinated.
Blum's was a very fine bakery in San Francisco.
I remember
confectioner.
Blum's, yes.
And they stopped making the cake, and I wanted it. And I found the recipe and made it, and people kept asking for it. So I said, I'm not going to keep giving it away. So Kathy's Creative Cakes in San Mateo allowed me to come in, and I sold the cake from there. And they still make it, Kathy's Creative Cakes in San Mateo, California.
That's really, really something. Anyway, we'll go quickly because I wanted to know you were married 59 years to Edwin Mack.
To the same man. That's why I dropped out of school.
That's almost a record. But tell us what about your 3 daughters. They're doing wonderful.
My oldest daughter was the founder of Gospel Centric Records. That is the record company on which Kirk Franklin made his fame. My second daughter was a chef who is now one of the top event planners for the Ritz-Carlton over in Half Moon Bay. And our youngest daughter, the baby, is Lieutenant Colonel in the Air Force and a dentist. And she's in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania at the moment, training to become head of infection control and safety for the entire United States Air Force.
My God, and they were small when you were in broadcasting.
Right.
So I just want everybody to know what exceptional women we're talking about, because Claire has now written a book.
I'm on my 4th book. But I'm working on my 2nd book at the moment, Mrs. Sam's and Mrs. Johnson. The first book was called Imitation of Life, The Next Millennium. One night I was watching television and saw the first Imitation of Life, which I had seen as a child and thought was okay. And when you ask most people of color about it, especially black people, what do you think about the movie? They say, oh, I love that movie. I just love it. Well, mainly they like the funeral scene, and there are some good scenes in the movie, but it's one of the most racist films I've ever seen in my life. Now, I don't know whether it's because of the author, and I don't think it was because of the author, Fannie Hurst. I think it was 1930s Hollywood that wrote lousy, racist movies.
Absolutely.
When the woman said, I've sold your recipe to the black character, and you'll get 40% and I'll take 60%, the roof came off.
Still going on today.
Yes.
Still going on,
But I wanted to write a book about equality among races, and especially among women. And if you really look at the movie, there was equality. These women were helping each other out. But I wrote a book, and I started to write a story about Kathy from Kathy's Creative Cakes, who was a very interesting woman. But because of the movie, I changed it. And then with the second book, I took two of the characters out of the first book, named Mrs. Sams and Mrs. Johnson, who were two gossips. But I turned it into many of the older black women I know who are just out in the community trying to do good things, and who help people, and who do things. I based it on Southern black women. My father was born in Brazos Bottom, Texas, which is actually Brazoria, Texas. But my father didn't have a great education, third or fourth grade education, and he still achieved. His sister, third or fourth education, and they achieved. And so many people put people down, especially us. We put each other down because of the way we speak. I was born and raised in San Mateo, California, and that's the way I speak, as though I was born and raised in San Mateo, California. But my father's brain was not diminished because he had a third grade education. He educated himself. And I know many people, black people in their 80s and 90s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, who do not speak English as it is written in Ebony magazine, but they have bought homes, they've educated children, they are community involved, they vote. They do everything everyone else in the United States does, and somehow people judge them by their language. No one judged Jimmy Carter by his way of speaking. And I don't think black people should be judged by the way they speak, because you don't know what's going on in their head, and you don't know what they've achieved. Therefore, I've taken language. I use that a lot. Even when I was on KGO back a few years ago, when Ebonics first came about, I was irate that someone would want to teach Ebonics. I feel that if you're doing it wrong, you should be corrected. If you have a broken leg, you put a splint on so you can walk correctly. But I still think there is honor in perhaps not using the English language as it's written in Ebony. To me, one of the most beautiful sentences in the American language is you is, or is you ain't my baby. You know what's being said.
Nobody can make anything out of that, but what it is. But what it is what it is.
And it doesn't have to be proper grammar and proper English for you to understand what is being said. So that is a constant.
That's something we have. You know, again, we have been programmed against ourselves for so long, Claire,
that
we could go on, and we lived it out in the broadcast media that we know. That goes out over all this thing, and you and I fought at a time when a lot of people weren't fighting about this thing. They just wanted to get their paycheck and go home. But
Belva Davis, when I first went to KGO to get a job, the guy who interviewed me said, "Your face is too dark, your lips are too big, I sell faces and yours won't sell."
Oh,
he broke my heart.
And he talks to your face.
To my face. As they told Oprah, your eyes are set too far apart.
They do.
Her bank account's not set too far apart. But I told him, I'm not trying to get a job in television to be a glamour girl. I already know that I'm not a glamour girl. But neither is Walter Cronkite a glamour boy from my point of view. So if he can be on television,
you can be on
television
looking
the way he looks. I'm here to impart some information, and that's what I wanted a television job for. And I'll always cherish this letter I received from a little boy in East Palo Alto. He wrote the letter and said, "Miss Mack, I don't know what you're talking about, but I watched the show because you're on it." And that was back in the early 1970s when there weren't a lot of black people.
And that's the highest compliment you could be paid.
Absolutely. A youngster wrote this letter. So,
well, don't you feel proud that you stood at the time that you needed to be counted?
Absolutely.
I tell everybody, what is aging about? Aging is about you sit down and realize you didn't do any of the things you should have done. You're mad at yourself. You're too late. The people that died that you should have said something to. And so you're sitting there eating your heart out, and you get old.
But Jerry, what we're doing right now is what I always wanted to achieve. Why do I have to turn blonde? Like Barbara Walters to have had longevity in television. You should be doing exactly what she's doing on the same type of platform she's doing. But there are very few older black women. In fact, there are none on national television. imparting information.
That's right.
Men can become bald, they can look like cadavers, they can look like anything, and they can do the news, they can do anything on television
and they
want to do.
Till they die.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think the same opportunity should be afforded older black women. So my third book is about these two little ladies. Sister Sampson, Sister Johnson, being so angry at pedophiles that they have formed a vigilante group and they take care of it. And why not?
Are they hit ladies or
They're
not?
hit ladies. They're out in the community taking care of something on their own. And I hope I do this whole series. That's why I want to live to be about 110.
Well, I'm going to show this big poster here so people can see how to watch out for these two ladies.
Absolutely.
if they
they're
see
church
them.
women. They're good church sisters. They work in the community. One of them has steatoplegia. She has a large rear end. Some people say, oh, that's not a very good figure. She's married and has children, so somebody liked the way she looked. And they're both round, which I have become as an older black woman. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
I'm healthy.
You're happy. You have a wonderful husband who loves you.
Right, and I just wish I could sell about 1 million books and talk about people who are not talked about in our society, who are doing quite well in our society.
So now these ladies, we're going to see them again in another book, aren't we?
3 more. Well, I'm working on the 4th one. The 3rd one's finished. And I need a publisher because I'm tired of doing self-publishing.
I know what you mean.
If there's a publisher out there,
come and see me. Let's just get respectful. Give me a publisher. Say, I really like your work and I'm going to publish it.
Absolutely.
And then give you a book review in the New York Times.
Absolutely.
All right. We're still on the same page. Well, listen, this is wonderful because, you know, when you've been ridiculed from the kindergarten, and you know what they do to the young black males up to the 4th grade, there was a book written about that, it's hard to find out who you are. And we were talking earlier to Harriet Wright, and she was just saying the same thing, you know.
Her hands, the way she used her hands.
And then the elegance and the quiet, and we need to see these kind of black women, that would threaten everybody on TV. We need to see elegant black women telling other black children how they can become elegant, how they can have their beliefs that they are somebody.
Right.
And that is really the wonderful thing that she's doing, and here you are with these two hit ladies here on the thing. I'm just thrilled with
Jerry,
this.
I went to a workshop at Stanford, and one of the men there told me that this is not a book. It's not a book. It's too dark. I said, but this is the way my life goes.
Yeah.
You cannot tell me that my life is not legitimate.
Yeah.
In 1 week to 3 weeks in my life, one of my nephews was killed by the Antioch police. It was actually a suicide. He was tired of living, so he told them, come get me. And he came out with a gun and they killed him. The second week, my niece was taking pictures down at the estuary and was robbed by 4 young men at gunpoint. The third week, my daughter's car was stolen in Oakland. But that doesn't stop me from going to church. It doesn't stop me from smiling. It doesn't stop them from smiling. We talk about these incidents. They are part of what's going on in the American fabric. And for somebody to tell me, oh, it's too dark. Man, you don't live my life. And it's like the man who told me my looks weren't good enough to be on television. Well, I had 30 years. I had a 30-year career.
Well, let me tell you something, Claire. We're going to have you back when you're writing your next book. We're going off right now because we've run out of time, but absolutely a joy to see you again. And the books, I guess, I'm sure if they are put in the right place, they're going to be bestsellers.
I hope so, hope so,
okay.
hope so.
And thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for joining us.